Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, no, in our group, no, I posted a questions, no, the practical assignment, no, which you are required to build a simple user interface for a profile screen with text view, image view, and button components, no. So again, text view, no, this component in Android is used to display text, no, to the user. It's a basic building block for showing static or dynamic text content like labels, no, description or headings. No, developers can style text view with fonts, no, colors, and alignment. So, for instance, a user's name or bio can be displayed using a text view. Another is the image view. No, this component is designed to display images. No, you can use it to show profile pictures, icons, or other visual contents. No, image view support various image resources such as drawable files, bitmaps, or external image URLs. So another is the button. No, a button is an interactive component that triggers an action when clicked. No, it can be customized with text, icons, and colors. In a profile screen, buttons might allow users to edit their profile, follow someone, or log out. So how will be able, or what will be the step, no, to build a simple profile screen UI? No? Of course, step one, we need to create a new project. No? Start a new project in Android Studio, ensuring that you select an empty activity template. And this template provides a basic structure to build upon. Define layout in XML. No? Open the activity underscore main.xml file in the res/layout folder. So that this file is used to define your UI components in a structured layout. Then step 3, add a root layout. No? Use a linear layout or constraint layout as the root container to organize the UI elements efficiently. Let's say, for example, no, a linear layout with a vertical orientation is suitable. No? And step 4, add an image view for profile picture inside the layout. Add natin yung image view to display the user profile picture. Set its width, height, no? Halimbawa, yung 100 dp or kaya times 100 dp, and position it at the top. So most commonly, the code is syempre yung XML, ang open natin, no, image view, then Android ID is equal to ID profile is image, then Android layout width is equal to 100 dp, let's say. Android layout height is 100 dp. Then yung source natin, yung drawable profile underscore pictures, then Android layout gravity is equal to center, no, para naka-center. Then closing tag natin. Ang step 5, add text view for user info. So the image view and text view elements to display the username, passwords, and short bio. No? So syempre yung ano natin, opening tag na text view, no? Then lagi naman tayong @+ ID username na ginagamit natin. Then layout width, wrap content ang gamitin. Layout height, gamitin natin ang wrap content. Doon sa Android text, gamitin natin halimbawa DocMelo, no? Sa text size, halimbawa 18sp. Then layout gravity, center ulit. Sa text view naman, same pa rin. Yung ID natin, yung @ plus ID/user underscore bio. Yung layout width natin, wrap content pa rin. Yung layout height, wrap content. Yung Android text, let's say passionate developer and designer. Then text size natin 14sp. Then center natin yung layout gravity. Then number 9, add buttons for interaction. No? So add button components for action like editing the profile and logging out. So opening tag na button, syempre, yung ID pa rin natin, same naman, edit the underscore profile underscore button, then with wrap content, layout with height, wrap content, text is either edit profile, no? Then gravity is equal to center pa rin. Another opening tag for button, same. Kaya lang yung another action sa Android text is log out, then center. Step number 7, syempre, ito na yung ating style the layout. No? So to improve the appearance and padding, margins, and background colors, this ensure a neat and visually appealing interface. So XML, Android.padding is equal to 16dp, Android background is equal to, let's say, kung alpha, ano tawag natin doon, uh, yung 16 digits, yung 16 hexadecimal value, no? So let's say sharp F5 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 or F4 F4 F4. Step 8, handle click event. So main activity.java or main activity.kt file, link the button to handle user action. So let's say Java button edit button is equal to find view by id r.id.edit underscore profile underscore button semicolon, no? So edit button that set on click listener, no? Be dash then tapos closing, no? Then button log out, no? Button. So find view by IDIR of the logout button, then set on click listener at the same time. Then afterwards, nagawa na natin yon. It's time for us to test and iterate, no? So run the app, no, on the emulator or physical device, adjust the design and functionality based on testing feedback to ensure a user-friendly profile screen. Okay, I just want to play a sample video, no? Sana mag
looks like this here. It has a list of buttons on the screen with some jokes, and so when you click on a button that says, for instance, I'm not lazy, the answer to your joke will be, I'm just very relaxed. And you'll see the next one says, I love my job, especially on weekends, or a balanced diet is a cupcake in each hand. And so we're going to create 3 buttons at the top of the screen that create these pop-up messages called toasts. Toast, like in bread. The next item here is called a message in the message field. So if I have this button here that says to err is human, and I click it, I'm going to get my to blame someone else is even more human. And the second answer for this one, only young once, immature forever. Smile today, tomorrow might be worse. And never let a fool kiss you, and never let a kiss fool you. And so you're going to create your own version of this joke app with your own buttons and your own phrases. So go to the internet and find some of these if you can't think of your own. But I'm going to take you through step by step on how to create these buttons and make them programmed so that they can talk to the screen. So here, let's go. First of all, I'm going to launch Android Studio. I'm using the Apple version, but the Windows and the Apple version are basically the same thing. Start a new Android project studio is what I'm going to choose here. And then I'm going to give this thing a title. So instead of my application, I'm going to call it my jokes, and you can use whatever name you like. The company domain name is a unique string to you, and so you can see that I'm using my first and last name followed by a URL that I own. So studyoffice.org, you could use any string you want really, but it just has to be unique. Nobody else in the world would use this string right here. Now I'm going to click next, and I'm going to choose next on this screen the version of Android. Now Android started way back in version 1.0, and the current version as of 2016 must be in Android 6.0. And so I'm going to go back to about 4.0 and start there. It says here that 97% of applications on the internet right now, 97% of phones would support this version, and so that's pretty safe right now. The next screen asks what kind of a application screen you want to create, and I'm going to choose the empty activity. We're going to start from scratch. Now the main activity is the title of the page, and that's fine. We'll just leave it as main activity. Now this takes a few minutes to create, so just sit back and get your coffee and check your email. This might be 3 or 4 minutes. Okay, I look at the bottom of the screen and I have the message that says Gradle build finished. You might ask what a Gradle is. Gradle is the name of the program that is used to create the interface and to build your application. So in your application you will have 2 files mainly. You will have a file called activitymain.xml, and this is for the design or the the view of your screen. That's all the buttons and all the widgets that you put on the screen. The other file that you have in your program is called mainActivity.java, and this is where all the logic or all the programming goes to make your buttons actually have actions. So we have XML and Java as our two files. Let's start here with activity main.xml. This is where we're going to design the buttons. Now you remember in the finished app, we have a total of 7 buttons on the screen. And so we'll start by putting the buttons on, and then we have this item here which is called a text view. And so this just shows messages. So let's get started right away by putting buttons on our screen. Now they've put a message in here that says hello world. This over here, this is called a text view item, and we can delete that for now. So I'll press the delete key. And we'll start putting buttons on. So in your widgets area, look for button. Drag it out to the center. Grab another button. So let's put 3 buttons in there. So you noticed I lined these 3 buttons up near the center. And you can also see that we have 3 different items in our component tree. So we have an item called the relative layout, which is the kind of screen and the kind of application we built. And then it has 3 buttons inside that. These buttons all have properties. So if I click on the first button and scroll through this list here that says properties, you will see that there's maybe 100 different things we can change about the button. What I want to change first is the ID of the button. It's just called button. I'm going to use a naming convention. Whenever I have a button on the screen, I'm going to call it B underscore, and then I'm going to use a description of what that button does. This button is going to create a toast message. So I'm going to say toast 1 and press enter. It says, do you want to update the usages for this and the rest of the program? So yes. Now you see at the top that it is renamed the button as btoast1. Let's also show you another way to rename this. If I double click on a button, I get the text and the ID listed here. I'm going to rename the ID here. I'm going to say b underscore toast2. And the third one, I'll double click and I'm going to call b underscore toast3. Now let's change the text on the button. If I double click on the first one, where it says new button, this is where I'm going to put in the first line of my jokes. I'm not lazy, I love my job, and a balanced diet. You can use other jokes. These are the ones that I chose. So I'm not lazy. I'll put that in first. I'm not lazy. And press enter. Now, there is a problem with how I did that. It looks like it's working fine, but this light bulb over here is giving me a suggestion. If I click here, it says hard coding strings should use something called a @string resource. What are they talking about? Well, in a program, it's a bad practice to name the title or put the text of your button right in the design. It's better to have a separate list of all of the names used in your program. Why do you say? Well, let's say you wanted to change your program into a Spanish language program. It's easier to find all of your sentences, all your strings in one list than to try and find them in your whole design. So if you get a complicated program, it gets more complicated to figure out where everything is. Let's take a look over here in this folder called RES. We're going to find the strings in here. So I'm going to drop the triangle here, click on values, and sure enough, there is a file called strings.xml. Let's double click it. Strings.xml already has one string in it. It's called app name, and I named it as my jokes. So if I wanted to retitle my program, I could do that right here. I could call it my jokes app. And now it'll look like my jokes app at the title. Now I want to use this I'm not lazy as one of those string resources as well. And so my light bulb is going to give me a suggestion on how I can do that. If I click anywhere on this line, up comes a screen called extract resource. And so the resource name is I''am not lazy, and I'll just choose OK. Let's go back into strings and let's see what's going on. There it is. I'm not lazy. It's listed right there. Now the button screen says here string I'm not lazy. That's not what we want it to look like. We want to keep the original string. We want to use this value right here. And so something went wrong, it says. The rendering couldn't happen. So let's see if we can fix that. I'm going to choose the run command, or I'm sorry, the build command, and I'm going to clean the project. Now this will take a minute or so to run, and hopefully this will clean up the problem. Okay, it seems like I cleaned up the problem. It says now I'm not lazy. So occasionally the rendering needs some help. Okay, let's see what the next button's supposed to say. It says I love my job. I love my job. Let's do that one as well. Let's double click here. And this time, instead of typing in new button, I'm going to choose here the little 3 ellipse buttons. And it says resources. Here's another way to create the same resource. If I click at the bottom that says new string value, and now it says resource name. So I'm going to call this second joke. And what was my second joke going to be? It says I love my job, and then the name was especially on weekends. And there it is, especially on weekends. Let's check out our strings. We've got ourselves 2 different strings. Notice in the apostrophe on the previous joke, they like to have apostrophes preceded by a backslash. And that just lets the computer know that this is not the end of the string. This is supposed to actually be part of the sentence. Okay, my third joke was a balanced diet. Let's double click that one. Do the same thing. Let's add a new resource. And I'm going to call this joke 3, I think it was. And a cupcake in each hand. And there it is. Hey, we've come to the end of lesson 1. Here's a few things that you should have learned as we went through the program. First of all, what are the 2 main files that you would find in an Android app? Think about it for a second. Correct answer is the XML file. And remember, the XML file defines your layout. And also the Java program. And so these are the 2 that combine together to make a single Android app. Here's another question. What are 2 important properties that we saw in a button? Think about the properties. First of all, you saw the button ID. The button ID will be used later in the programming. And also we saw the button text, or the title. This will be displayed in the face of the button. Also, we looked at a file called strings.xml. What's inside there? Strings.xml contains the text that you use on the face of your buttons, the app title, and other objects that we'll create later on in the program. In part 2, we'll create the rest of the app. We're going to create the buttons on the bottom and also make all the actions work. So, come back soon.
Okay. So that's it for activity number 1, no?